This one's big. This one's really big. What's up, dudes? I've taken my KO2 off the shelf, I've dusted it off, and whipped up some Sunwoo videos and started relearning this thing because of the new update that came out, the Champions version 2.0. This is a big update. I looked into it and the XY has kind of been getting steady updates. And I started to feel like, hey man, what about the OP1s out there? What about us? No, I actually started thinking about the OP1. Because of the way that they're releasing stuff, it feels to me like they're gonna be releasing an OP1 field update soon. That being said, I think it's easy to forget that the original OP1, it had a 10-year run, and I wasn't an early adopter. But I can't imagine what the original OP1 looked like compared to itself 10 years later with the string of updates over those 10 years. The OP1 field is a complete redesign. It included like 100 features and brought it into sort of the next decade with a stereo audio chain that just gave it this studio quality in terms of sound. That's all the updates I need. So I'm not waiting for an update or expecting one. I'm anticipating it. I feel like it's in the air. But if there are no updates for the next 10 years of the OP1, to be honest, it's fine. I come from an era where you bought an instrument and that's what you bought. It came with everything it was supposed to come with, and that's what you got. And you were the update. You would get so good at it and become one with the instrument, one with the machine, and get so used to its workflow, you would start inventing new ways to use it. And those were the updates. Of course, now with technology, everyone's on a slow drip. I don't know, man. Like I said, if in the next 10 years the OP1 field looks the same as it does today, I'll probably still be using it. But that doesn't stop me from imagining what it could look like. So with zero experience in programming or electrical engineering or computer science, the Enjoyer update, version 10.0. If you've watched anything on my channel, you know that I love these microphones. I love the CM15 and I love the OP1 field mic. It's pretty capable. But what I can't do is stereo recording. But how cool would it be if you could plug the microphone into the line in and also use the onboard mic at the same time and just have them like this and you get stereo recording? Is it possible? I have no idea, but it would be pretty awesome. This is a big one for me. When I got the Chroma console, one of the first things I did was I plugged the OP1 into it, and then I went out of the Chroma back into the OP1 so I could record it onto itself, onto the tape machine. And I inevitably got a feedback loop. So I went down this rabbit hole to find out how I could do it, and I couldn't. I got the TX6, and the TX6 has an effects loop built into it. It has an auxiliary send, but you still can't put the OP1 field through that back into itself and record on the tape. You still get the feedback loop. At least I haven't been able to figure it out. So if you can, please let me know. But it doesn't take much of an imagination to realize that there is a plane of existence that the metronome lives on. What is that backstage area where when you're recording, you hear the metronome, but when you play it back, the metronome's gone? Where is that? Can't we put like the effects loop there? Or I don't even know how to, because I'm not familiar with the technological aspect of this, I don't even know how to explain it. Isn't there like a backstage area that we could route stuff through in order to get rid of the feedback loop? There would be on the Enjoyer update. That's definitely something that I would do, because at that point, imagine you open up the entire world of effects pedals and effects processors out there, and you're not just limited to the supremely well-designed and beautiful list of effects that Teenage Engineering has put on this thing already, but it opens the door to limitless possibilities. You could put it through anything at that point. I'm talking about just using the OP1 field as a standalone. So if you're recording just with a DAW or whatever, you just run the OP1 field in through an effects processor or a pedal into a computer, and there you go. You've recorded the OP1 through a pedal. But if I don't want to use a computer, I need less hoops.
19, take 1.
I'm a guitar player, so if I want to sample myself into the OP1 field, I need to use both hands to play the guitar. When you sample something on the OP1, you have to hold the button down to like engage the sampling process, and then you set your threshold so that when the sound hits that threshold, the actual recording of the sample happens. But I want my hand back. Playing a piano one-handed or playing a guitar one-handed especially is really hard to do. There's gotta be a way to be able to set that threshold, that volume trigger thing with the gray knob, and then maybe click the encoder. Listen to this, by the way. I love those buttons. You can set the threshold with the gray knob and then click the encoder to engage the sampling process so that when you start playing, you're not holding a button down, but that volume threshold gets reached and it starts recording on its own. I don't know if this is one of those red lines that they won't cross, like the undo feature, but the undo feature makes sense to me. That is how tape machines were. That level of stress that's added to everything you do on the OP1, it's the pressure that makes diamonds, baby. That's what it's about. Those happy accidents that you would never be able to do on your own. And I think a lot of those come from that anxiety, hitting record and fucking the whole thing up. The undo feature is not on Enjoyer 10.0. This one's kind of big for me. The way you use the endless sequencer is by holding shift down, then you can start filling in the notes of the sequence. Once you lift your finger off of the shift button, you're done. That's it. Your sequence is done. You can't keep adding to it because the next time you hit shift, you start it over again. But that finger, dude, I get cramps in my pinky having to hold that and trying to play the keyboard with two hands. So it would be nice to be able to get my finger back. But that's another click of an encoder, I would think. Simple, just engage the sequencer and then you can use both hands to do your thing and then click another encoder and it turns it off or locks the sequence into place. I think that would be really cool. There are a lot of buttons and stuff, depending on what screen you're on, that don't have any commands. They're just empty. So there is space to push stuff, to program in pushing stuff. I thought that it would be cool to have a cursor move along with the sample as you play it so that you know when it's going to end and you can switch to the next one if you're not playing with a click or for whatever reason. I mean, like, imagine being able to see where that cursor is. You can see where you want to shorten the sample to. I think that would be valuable. Just more visual representation of what you're doing and you can have more control, which would be great for me because I'm a control freak. This might actually already be kind of incorporated into the scissors function. When you record something onto a piece of tape and you splice it, there's never a click. It's always like this perfect transition. So I imagine there is some form of a fade inside of that action, but clicks and pops have always been a complaint since the original OP1. And I've figured out a way to solve it. Most of the time it comes from sampling. Whenever you're sampling stuff, you're always sampling stuff at different volumes and you're cutting off the recording at a certain point, different frequencies, all that stuff. Everything is wild in the sampling game. What would be awesome if there was an arbitrary fade that you could just, another encoder, dude. It's simple, just like this. Oh yeah. It would be sweet if you could use another encoder, a clicker. Just click and drop a fade. Just boop. I think it would be a pretty cool tool to have at your disposal. This one's big. This one's really big. Yeah, baby. It's not a synthesizer. It's not a drum machine. Yeah. You ready for this? The new instrument in the Enjoyer 10.0 update is a mixer. It's a mixer, dude. I think it's so simple, it's so easy. Just a couple KBs, bro. Just a couple kilobytes, no big deal. What my update would have is like a 4-mode filter bank so that you could have these knobs to be able to manipulate the filter bank, and then maybe the shift features could be EQ, low, mids, high. I don't know. There's something there. There's something there. But ultimately it would be an instrument. So on the T1 button, you would have your mixer, filter bank. On 2, you would have your envelope. 3, you would have an effect slot. And 4, you would have an LFO to be able to manipulate the filter banks. That's a twofer right there. 2 for 1, baby. That'd be it. Except for just a slow, steady drip of sounds. Sample packs. Sample packs is a really good way to keep us like fed. You know, we're like rabid dogs. Man, updates are beautiful things. They're like free gifts, but once they slow down on the updates, dude, people get angry. People get malicious, dude. All of this might be unreasonable and completely impossible. I have no idea. But if you are a programmer, let me know if any of this stuff is possible. Otherwise, if you guys have dream features that you think should go on Enjoyer 10.0, let me know. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna go make some jams. Thanks for watching. Later, dudes. The open one field for me is just delicioso. Gotcha, bitch.